Okay, well, thank you very much for coming to the last presentation of today. And I'll make a start because it's coming up to 5 past, apologies. I'd like to introduce you to Chris Rowell and Lorraine Barclay, who are going to do a presentation on shared experiences of implementing DigiCap programs at two London universities. Chris is Deputy Learning Technology Manager at Regent's University London, and Lorraine, as well as being a member of the UCISA Digital Capabilities Group, works as an IT systems trainer for St George's University of London. I'd like to pass you on to Chris.
Okay, thank you. Right. Welcome everyone this afternoon. 1 hour to go, so not long to go now. Right, I'm here just to talk to you for 20 minutes or so, just about a little course that I ran called the 12 Apps of Christmas. Before I get straight into that, just going to give you a little bit of context about the course and what I was trying to do with it. First of all, I work at Regent's University, which not everybody's probably heard of. It's the smallest university. In fact, there's a picture of it there, and you can see the main campus, which is kind of in Regent's Park. Just as an aside, that building there is Madame Tussauds, okay, next to Baker Street. So it's a quite small university. It's a private, not-for-profit university. It has about 4,000 students and about 200-ish full-time lecturers, and then lots of part-time sessional lecturers as well. So I'm mentioning that because it has some sort of bearing on what I'm going to talk about. My role in the university is Deputy Learning Manager, Learning Technology Manager, and part of that role, one of the roles, is obviously to train the academic staff. Okay, so that's what I do, and it's obviously a full-time job. It's very busy, etc., etc. The 12 Apps of Christmas was a course that I set up 3.5 years ago, and the reason I set it up was that I had previously done quite a lot sort of traditional workshops in the past, where I'd put on maybe just a workshop about how to use apps in your teaching or learning or something like that. They hadn't been really well attended. I get 1s and 2s turning up. Then I tried to jazz it up a bit, and I called it an appstable, right? Where I got people, the lecturers, to come and do demos of the apps that they were using. And again, I didn't really, I got, all right, instead of 1s and 2s, I had 10 people there. But in terms of numbers, it still wasn't big numbers. And it partly reflected the fact that lecturers weren't using apps loads. They weren't. They were quite interested in them, and they were interested in what other people were doing with them, but they weren't actually using them loads of themselves. So even those workshops of 10 people, they were demos. They didn't really generate much discussion about how they could be used in a teaching and learning context, or in a communication or a research context, or what have you. So I kind of felt a bit frustrated with that, not really working. So that's the reason I tried to think about, well, what other ways could I do it? And 3-4 years ago, the height of the sort of MOOC extravaganza, I thought, well, let's try and run some sort of online course about it. And this is what I came up with. And again, it was a response to, those conversations you have, I don't know what jobs you do, but my lecturers say, oh, I'm always interested in what you're doing, Chris, but I just do not have the time to come to your sessions. And I thought, well, if I run an online course, it's open 24 hours, that's not an issue. Anybody can drop into a course at any time, and part of my design, which I'll talk about, is that it should be for like just 10 minutes a day. So that was at the back of my mind when I was thinking about it. I've run 3 iterations so far. So the first time was back in 2014. And when I set it up, I had very low expectations. I thought, right, okay, I'll just have maybe 5 or 10 lecturers at my place who would engage with it. In the end, I had something like 20 or 25 who engaged in the first one. But what I did, because I was generally worried that I would not have enough people, is I made the course open. So first of all, I actually built the design of the course on Blackboard's open course platform, Open Education. So it's not in the traditional VLE of our university. It was built on this platform. And then I advertised it first within my personal learning network on Twitter, and then I made the mistake of putting it up on Alt's notice board, Alt's forum, and then on CEDA's forum. And then suddenly I had 500 people signed up to this course. And it came as a little bit of a shock the first time round, to be honest. And I thought, well, I have to start making this look a bit good, or a bit better than it initially was. So it's had 3 iterations so far, and we'll probably do another one this year. Each time it's grown a bit. So the first one, we had about 500. The second one, 2015, we had about over 1,000. And the last one, we had just under 1,500. So it's grown mainly by people outside the university, but the numbers within the university have grown as well. So I've gone from 20 to 30 to nearly 60 within the university who've signed up and participated in it. So those are quite pleasing numbers for me compared to when I first were doing the one-to-one workshops in terms of promoting the use of apps and discussing it. Because I come from a teaching background, when I sat down with it, I designed it with an idea of a course in mind, but not necessarily that I wanted to assess the people participating in it. So I did actually have 3 learning outcomes, but although I've jazzed them up a bit, they're quite simple ones. So first of all, it was just to trial an app. Yeah. Secondly, to kind of reflect on the use of that app. And then thirdly, to talk about how it could be used. That's all I was trying to do by the aim of this course. And those are reflected in those more formal learning outcomes. In terms of the design of the course, I mean, I tried to keep it very simple on each day. So the idea was that people would log in, they would just do a 10-minute a day activity. Okay, just 10 minutes, that's it, minimum. So that's really hard to kind of design something meaningful that you can do in 10 minutes. So I don't know if you can see that, but the course ran over 12 days. Every day I would release a new app. I didn't design the apps, they were just ones that are out there already. So this screenshot here is one called Slido. It's a classroom voting tool, similar to Poll Everywhere or something like that. Okay? So on this one here, you've got, we have the same headings each day. So what is it? A very brief line explaining what it is, what it can do. So it's a voting tool. Download it now. So the participants are asked to download it onto their phone or device or tablets. And then here comes the 10-minute activity. So in this activity here, it was for them to design a poll, i.e. a questionnaire, and then tweet out the link or put it in discussion board, and then all 500 people in the course could actually have a go at that question, or whatever it was. So it changed from day to day. Very hard to keep it an activity just to 10 minutes. And to be honest, some of them did last longer than 10 minutes. Yeah, it's so difficult. And it also, 10 minutes to one person is an hour or 2 hours to another person or something else. So that was quite difficult. And then to keep the Christmas spirit going, it does seem very weird talking about Christmas at this time of the year. We always had a Christmas joke, the cornier the better. So the one we've got down here is, how many ears does Santa have? 3, a left ear, right ear, and Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Right, and they were all of that quality through it every single day. Okay, but it was, people like that sort of Christmas theme, because that's when I ran it, obviously. It was the last week, that was deliberately chosen for me, because it always was a period, the end of December, exam boards are out the way, by and large. Teaching is going on, which is good, because it does give the lecturers an opportunity to maybe actually try and use some of these apps with their students, but maybe quite the pressure's not quite as on as it is at the other times of the year. Along with that, every app had a discussion board. All right, so that generated loads of really good discussion. And I was very conscious when I was designing it of, at first, designing it along sort of connectivist learning principles, where I wasn't there as the teacher telling students what to do. The questions were, have you used this? What did you think about it? What are the problems with it? And some of it was quite controversial, so things like choosing apps like WhatsApp or Snapchat, you know, where there was all sorts of discussions and people saying, no, this is completely inappropriate for HE, for people to be using it. But that was good. My intention was to bring out that debate. As time's gone on, I've moved away from that a little bit, where I've asked experts to maybe facilitate those discussions, because I think you get a better discussion when you've got somebody who knows more about that app rather than me just trying to get away with it, sort of thing. Sorry, didn't phrase that very well. But for example, last year's one we did Google Cardboard, and one of my lecturers, Zoe, who teaches media, she'd been using it with her students, so she set up the questions, facilitated the discussion board, and because she knew what she was talking about, I generally felt it led to a much better discussion than just somebody being a facilitator without some expert knowledge. We had a further task, so again in that, it's very hard to get that balance right between the technology and the learning and teaching. So in that area, we've started with the technology, we are starting with the apps, but we quickly want to try and move on to maybe thinking about case studies, how it can be used in teaching and learning, real life situations. So those further tasks would be more extended activities, basically. And then finally, we had useful resources, which is just a link of resources, useful videos. And again, most of it we didn't produce ourselves. And again, comes back to my main point. I don't have any money for this. This is purely just done in my own time, on top of my normal job. Not even many people in the university were, I mean, at first, I was asking people if they wanted to be part of it, and people just say, no, I'm too busy. Yeah, it was hard work to encourage people the first time round to get involved with it. But then it sort of grew and it snowballed a bit, and then people wanted to be participated. To the extent now where I can ask people, oh, would you like to be part of it? And they do. They say, yeah, genuinely like to be part of it. And I've gone outside my place and asked people at other universities to facilitate some of that discussion. And they find it useful because it provides, you know, a good debate about the usefulness of a particular app in a particular context. Okay, that's about the design of it. Here's just a flavour of just some of the apps I used, not last year, but the year before. And again, I tried to give a mixture of apps. So some of them are Regent institutional ones. So for example, we use Blackboard as our VLE. The first one we had up there, I think, was Blackboard Mobile Learn. And last year, it's the new Blackboard app, Blackboard BB Student. Okay, so it's an institutional app. Some of them in the past have been just ones that we've seen, and then they become institutional apps. So, for example, Poll Everywhere started life in 12 apps, and then it became, people really liked it, and then we bought a proper license for it, and then it became an institutional app. Okay, so that was an unexpected turn of it. Some of them are social media ones. Okay, so these are a mixture of, you know, communication tools. Some of them are kind of what I'd call up and coming. At that particular year, the big thing was Periscope, and it was maybe people had heard of it and didn't quite know what it was. So it was more just like, oh, here's the new one that's on the scene. We'll check it out, see what people think about it. So I tried to give a mixture of things, and then, as you can see, the last one is always a sort of fun-related Christmas one, Elf Yourself, which is definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it before. Okay. All right. So all of this, I can provide links for it. In terms of the evaluation, and I guess this leads back to the discussion that you were talking about in the last session about how effective this kind of thing happens, or in Jane's session on the previous workshop about how you kind of measure what impact this sort of thing has. in terms of training. Because it was run in Blackboard Open Education, I mean, I could easily measure the amount of hours that people are in. Okay, whether that's a measure of actually what they're doing is another question, but you could easily measure the amount of hours. Okay, and like most MOOCs, or most the hours do drop off, but the day one we had 280 hours, which is quite a substantial amount of time that people are actually in the VLE. Okay, they might be going to having a cup of coffee or having a bath in the meantime, but they are logged on in those times. And if I wanted to, I could even go down to the individual participants and see how long they were actually in there for. So in total amount of training hours, okay, it does add up to quite a lot of hours. So that's useful. In terms of, I did 3 surveys in the course, a pre-course survey, an end-of-course survey, and then a post-course survey as well. So first of all, to find out something about the participants, so these are 2015 figures, so 1,000 people, 431 completed the pre-course survey. There were 910 comments on the discussion boards. So you can see it's quite a lot of discussion going on there inside of it. Most people had heard of it from a friend, which was interesting because that was the second time round, 32%. The gender split, again, I don't actually know why this is still the case, but 78% of them were female. So nearly 80% female-male split. In terms of, maybe it's related to the employment of those jobs as well. I don't know if there are more female librarians, because there were definitely more librarians on the course. Just comparing that figure now with the last iteration, you can see librarians are 50%, whereas lectures 26, where it's evened up now. It's more 40-40. We've got more lecturers doing the course, but percentage-wise, yeah. And the amount of learning technologies is dropped off. I'm quite pleased about that, actually, even though speaking as a learning technologist, because it just makes me think, well, actually, maybe the librarians and the lecturers are engaging more with it, the ones who tend to be using it with their students. In terms of where they come from, obviously, it's mainly United Kingdom, a few from Europe, and loads from Australia. I was like, you know, because they'd come in the next morning, and then the discussion boards just had all these Kiwis and Aussie comments, loads of them, and then you have to busy sort of answer them first thing at 8:30 in the morning. And on Twitter they were tweeting all through the night and stuff like that on the course. So that was kind of an unexpected thing, but it was the real benefit of making something open. It would I would never have generated so much discussion inside just my university about these apps, and they would come in with such good examples and links and everything. Real benefit of making the course open. Reasons for doing the course, and again the largest reason, nearly 40%, they'd thought about integrating mobile apps but were not sure how to do it. Okay, so it's probably confidence really, and if this course gave them a little bit more confidence to at least have a go in a semi-controlled type of environment, then it was kind of achieving what it set out to do. And then the last thing was interesting, the percentage who had not taken a course before, online course, was nearly 30%, which I thought was quite high in this day and age. Okay, all right, just going to wind up on the last couple of things. End of course survey, all right, I got some nice comments. They all said they were happy, they liked the course. And lots of research that's done on online courses, they all say, well, they all like it, they love it. What I wanted to do was ask a slightly different question, which is, after the course had finished, did it actually make any difference to the participants' professional practice? Did they actually do things differently 3 months after the course had finished? And again, what I did, I'm not sure if it totally answers that question, but I sent them an online survey. This comes to one of the questions. So 21% were saying yes, as a direct result of the course, they were using apps in their teaching and learning. Okay, And then I followed that up with 12 interviews, and I had all sorts of really stuff I can't go into, but people talked about how they'd used it, these apps that they'd learnt on the course. So again, I'm not saying this is proof, but this is what we're trying to do at the end of the day to improve their digital literacies or capabilities, is do this, and as a result, their practice will change. Okay, I mean, people might turn around and say, well, it might have been other factors that resulted in that. But at least it's an attempt to kind of measure any learning that's taken place. Last few things. You could run your own similar course. I mean, everything on those free versions has all got a Creative Commons license. So basically you can take anything of it, reproduce it for your institution if you particularly want to. Some tips are, keep the course simple. Allow enough time for it. I mean, it is slightly time consuming in terms of keeping an eye on it all and designing it, overseeing it. And maybe try and develop a team around it as well. So people in the learning technology team, I'm looking at Anna who's in this room. She's facilitated stuff for the last 3 years and helped me loads run it. Other people, and then I've got other people involved in it from outside the institution as well. So those are some of my top tips. If you want some more help or advice, I've set up actually a WordPress blog which takes you through how to set up your own 12 apps at Christmas. Okay, so in there you've got like a template, you've got examples of other universities who've set up their own version. So Dublin Institute of Technology runs a really good one, really through a WordPress blog. There's one in Canada now, there's various other ones. People have taken the model, remixed it, remodeled it and put it out there, and there are different ways they've delivered it as well, so it's quite interesting. That's the URL at the top there, but I think the links will be on the UCISA website as well afterwards. And then those are my contact details. Okay, so I don't know if we're taking questions. We are maybe taking, if anybody's got a quick question before I pass you over to Lorraine. Hi.
I was just interested in your like run the 12 days of Christmas. Do you just run it at Christmas? Is it just an annual thing? Is that time of year? You mentioned that
Yeah, that's how I came up with it. It was no great, at the time I didn't give it any really great thought. It was just, oh, that's a good idea. Well, I felt like a good idea, but actually the whole thing, you could rebrand it to a completely different concept, couldn't you? I mean, it could be, I don't know, the 10 days of Easter or the 10 bunnies of Easter or so. Yeah, working days. The first time I did it over the weekend, which was a total mistake. Nobody, like, just when you see the engagement, it just drops off for those 2 days. Yeah. You could, and I think another. Yeah, I think you need to. It's a CPD course, so you need to keep it together, and the beginning and an end, and not have too much gap in between it, because it's still online. You've still got to think about the motivation of it, or people drop off, and I didn't have time to explain, but I've run little competitions. So like there was an Animoto app where people had to tweet out their best video, and then I got Animoto to give me some prizes. Same thing for Coots. Well, they gave me some rubbish T-shirts, but I mean, there was other. Blackboard gave me some good vouchers, just to keep a bit of momentum going, because it's completely voluntary. People are just dipping into it, really. I think the more in-depth conversations do take place in that discussion board, but only, even though I got 900 in that particular year, and it probably doubled last year, you're only still getting a small percentage of people contributing. But what people appreciate is they can go in and see that conversation. They say, oh, right, I used it in this way, I used it in this way, I used it in that. I can't judge that, but I know that people have liked that type of discussion. Yeah, it's how you use it. It's not really about the apps. It's how you use it with your students. Yeah. All right, yeah.
Comment. We did an event that was a hackathon type event, and by far the most highly prized prize were pairs of slack socks. So don't think you need to go elaborate.
Okay, I'll remember that for this year, yeah. Did you hear that, Anna? Okay, all right. Lorraine, I'll pass you over to Lorraine. Hopefully. Okay. I'm not sure how you move it on to the next. Oh yeah, excellent. Okay. Oh, but you need that.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm here to give you my experience of digital capabilities in action. And first of all, I'll just tell you where I'm from. I'm from St George's University of London, and it's a medical school. And in fact, it's a part of a federation of colleges. And there are 17 colleges and about 10 research institutes. And we're actually based in Tooting. What are we famous for? I think we were one of the first institutions to actually deliver formal training for doctors. Okay, I think Oxford University was the first, we were the second. Okay, so we're based in Tooting, and don't know if anybody remembers this. No. All right. So he put Tooting on the map. Okay, Tooting Broadway, that's where we are. And also this cow. Has anybody heard of Blossom the cow? Okay, if I move that on, you've all heard of, have you heard of Edward Jenner? Okay, so with that cow, he helped to discover the cure for smallpox, and that's what we're famous for. And if I go back to that cow, that's in our library. Okay, it's a little exhibition in our library, our school library. Okay, so enough about Tooting and everything like that. I'm here to talk to you about things that I've taken away from conferences, and I can remember a few years ago I went to the Learning Skills and Technology conference, and there was a keynote speaker, and she made a statement, and the statement was that you can always be successful. And I thought, oh, that's a kind of bold statement there. But then she demonstrated what she actually meant. Because I was like thinking, well, you have winners and you have losers, don't you? You're not always successful. So I took away that statement, and that statement's always sort of like stayed with me in everything that I do. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you her demonstration, but it involves all of you, okay, getting up. But the first thing is, has anybody heard of rock, paper and scissors? Have you all played that game? You have? Okay, so what I would like, if you haven't, I'm just going to ask, I don't know, yes it is, okay. Can you explain how to play that game for me, please?
Okay. I keep thinking, this is really bad, but I keep thinking, Spock, which is the version. Rock, scissors, paper covers rock, scissors cut paper. Okay, and it's Rochambeau. Rochambeau.
Ah, well, I'm going to change that. But thank you very much. Okay, so what I would like is for everybody to get up. And if you could actually just come into the center of the room, that'd be really nice. Okay, and so what I want is for us to actually play this game. So you're going to turn to the nearest person and you're going to play that game. All right, so there's going to be a winner. All right, don't start yet. But there's going to be a winner, okay? So when that person, if that person wins, all right, the person that loses has to become the winner's cheerleader. Okay, so that means you need to know that person's name. You need to, yeah, so that you can cheer that person on. And winners will play winners, and their cheerleading team will follow them. Okay, and so what I want is for everybody to do this until there are only 2 winners left. Okay, all right, but, all right, first of all, what I thought I would do is thank you very much for the wonderful demonstration, but this is, we always at home have an issue with what we're doing, the 2 times, 3 times, or what have you. So I'm just going to give an example. So maybe, Grajna, we can do it. Okay. So what I want you to say, just rock, paper, scissors, and then form the object. Okay, I'm going to put this down. Okay, ready? Rock, paper, scissors. But we both got scissors anyway. Okay, ready? Rock, paper, scissors. Okay, so I win.
You win.
Yeah, so you become my cheerleader. All right, so do you know my name? Yes, thank you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next person. All right, so thank you, yeah. Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. You win. Okay, so we're cheering you. So I'm going to step out of this, but Grajna, you have to cheer on this gentleman. So what's your name? Phil.
Right.
Okay, so you have to play a winner. But you can all start playing right now. Okay, until we have 2 winners. Right, so you have to follow him. Follow him. Cheer him on. Okay, have you got a winner? You got a winner? There you So we want to hear you. You got any winners here? So have we got 2 winners? Have we got 2 winners? Can I have the 2 winners up at the... Can I have you at the top, please? Off we go. Oh, sorry. So you're the winner. So Anna's the winner. All right, so you all become our cheerleader. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. So the thing is that who was the winner? Who was the winner? Who was the winner? Anna. Who was on Anna's side? We were. You all were. You all were, weren't you? You were all cheering her on. All right, and that's the thing. Her point is that we can all be successful if we cheer on other people, even though maybe it may not be our project, it may not be our role, it may not be, yeah, that's it, thank you. Cheer on, yeah. So the thing is that if we cheer on each other, then we can all be successful. And so that's what I've learned. I've tried to help people with their projects, and I think it's, you know, being an IT trainer or, you know, that's what you do. You help people to do the best that they can, isn't it, with the system. So that's what I took away. But, of course, I've been on other conferences, and I've been on the spotlight on digital capabilities, 1, 2, and now 3. And if I can just find my little clicker. What did I take away from that conference? Well, I took away the Jisc framework, and I can remember actually going along and learning about this framework. I mean, I didn't even know what a framework was, but I decided that, you know, I'd look into it and see what it was all about. I went onto the Jisc website and I found a document like this, and it had a whole list of different frameworks, all right, and it was all mapped to the 6 elements, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize there were so many frameworks about, and I recognized some of them. I said, okay, well, we've got the ECDL framework, and I was like, well, we've got ECDL at my institution. Another one that popped out was the UK PFF framework, and I was like, oh, okay, so what can I do? Should I follow one of these frameworks, or should I stick with the Jisc framework, or should I make up one of my own? And when I researched a little bit more, I found out that Jisc had done a lot of work, and I just thought, well, let me just, why recreate the wheel? Just follow what they have done. So I looked at the 6 elements, and I thought to myself, how am I going to use this? Okay, how am I going to share this with everybody? I'm just an IT systems trainer, okay, and you know, is it my role to really do that? How can I link it to what I actually do? There are other people at the institution that maybe had roles that were better suited to sharing this information. I mean, I didn't have any idea what the academic institutes were doing, or the, you know, the teachers there, or the lecturers, and so I thought, well, okay, I need to look for opportunities where I can actually share this. I had a monthly newsletter where I tried to give people tips and things like that. I said, should I put it in there? But how can I measure if anybody is actually taking any note of this? So what I did was I looked at my role a little bit closer, and I said, now what am I teaching? So I do the IT induction, and I meet lots of new people. All right, so I was like, well, maybe I could share it with them. Yeah, but I mean, the IT induction is only 1 hour. You only get to see them once. I mean, you know, what could I do? Refer them to this so that they could just read it. I also do the training on Aggresso. Has anybody heard of Aggresso? It's a financial system, and it's a compulsory course. It's a compulsory course. Everybody that wants to either approve spend or who want to raise a PO, they come to me, okay? And they can't get an account unless they come to me, even if they know it. So so I was like thinking, so, well, at least how can I fit this in? I also teach on SITs. I do an introductory course on SITs, our student system, and I also ran courses on Office 365, and it was Office 365 that sort of like gave me an idea, because what happened was that I found that we rolled it out, everybody was using the emails, but they weren't using the apps. So Chris, maybe the 12 apps we could, you know, could do something with Office 365. But the thing is that I decided that what I would do is I would run a webinar, and I called it Apps in the Cloud, Why Won't They Use Them? And the format of the webinar was to invite different people from different sections to see if I could, you know, find a solution to why people weren't using the apps, and if we could sort of like work together, how we could get them to start using them. All right, so these were the things that I was doing. This is what my role encompassed. And then I also, of course, had the role of a digital capability group committee member, where I was exposed to best practices, many different universities doing different projects, sharing, you know, their experiences. I was attending conferences and helping to put them on. I was helping with the community forum that we have. I was helping with the survey. So I was being exposed to many different, shall I say, experiences and people. And I'm the lead for the webinars. And so I was getting experience through, you know, putting on webinars. And as you can see, this is the group. Yeah. And then, so what I decided to do was to combine the two roles, my experiences as a DC group member, committee member, and also as an IT systems trainer, and all the problems that I was facing with people not coming on the courses, and business owners having issues with their support, you know, lots of people having questions or not doing the work, you know, not using the systems properly. And so I thought, well, if I can combine the two roles and share my framework, share the framework through what I was doing, that would be really good. So what happened was that I came up with webinars. I do it already. All right. I looked at the university and I said, oh my goodness, we're already running a spotlight, but it was a spotlight on medicine, yeah, or on science. And of course the conferences were running, it's a spotlight on digital capabilities. So I thought, well, let's call it a spotlight on digital capabilities at St. George's. Okay. The scope was going to include digital skills. And because remember that takeaway from that previous conference, which was, you know, try and help other people, it was a case that it was going to cover any system, okay, any system, IT system that was current at the university. And of course the format was going to be just like the webinars that I was running for the UCISA, which you would invite guests along and experts. And I thought what would be really good is that I could lead from the top. And the way that I was able to lead from the top was because of there we go, because of the courses that I was running. And I was very fortunate enough to, at the time when I was putting this together, that we had a change of principal and a change of the chief operating officer, and they had to come on the Aggresso courses. And of course I was able to speak to them personally or get to know them. So what I did is I just I invited them to be guests on my webinars. And at the same time we had a new learning and development manager from HR, and we got together. I got support from that person. We got together and we decided what we were going to do is to put together a group, a staff development group of all the people that delivered training within St. George's. And this is a little, if I can click on it, it's a little video of our little group.
St. George's Development Group. Your ideas and reflections are critical to the success of it and will inform our thinking and planning for the work ahead. Come and meet the current members who are part of the different development provisions that St. George's has to offer. She's helped to be a project manager and can help you with books, flipped classrooms, PowerPoint presentations, and copyright issues. Fiona is the IT training manager who looks after Microsoft Office and can involve you on the UCISA External Practice course. Colin is the learning and development manager who is dedicated to the development of individuals and groups such as researchers and managers. Colin is the Safety, Health and Environment Advisor. His department provides opportunities to attend external certificated courses such as First Aid at Work and IOSH Managing Safely, as well as internal courses such as Fire Safety or Fire Marshal Training. Claire is the Data Protection Officer who can advise you on how to manage personal data. Lorraine is the IT Systems Trainer who trains on Aggresso, SIX, Clone and other ad hoc systems. Peter, the Learning Technology Service Manager, can tell you how to use the current VLE to help you with collaboration, audio and visual, quizzes, feedback, assessment, reflection and communication. Thank you so much for coming along to lead the group. Please use the
we formed this group, and we had our launch at the Education Day. But the opportunity of being in that group was that I had people that were using different systems that were facing the same problems that I was facing, and that we could all sort of like get together and help each other. Okay, so and of course they could be guests on the webinar. Yeah, so so what did I do then? So I decided, okay, what I need to do is I need to roll it out, and I linked it up to, as I said, the 6 elements. I changed it a little bit and made it 7 elements because I split the digital identity and the digital well-being into 2. And what I did is I invited the principal to be one of my first guests. I got an expert, which was somebody that was voted one of the top 50 people in social media, and I also had a head of institute, should I say, that was also one of the guests as well, and she had a problem with her staff not filling in certain fields on a system or what have you, so she wanted to talk about that on the webinar. And so did I get many people on the live webinar? Did many people book on? I would say it was around, say, like 20 people that booked on. We're not talking about big numbers like what Chris had. And then what we did is that we actually stored this on Office 365. And if I was to go on there are many hits on there. There was about 30 hits for the webinar. And but the thing is that even though it wasn't successful in the numbers, what it was successful in doing was that I got an invitation to bid for capital funding. And I was like, me? Capital funding? I'm just an IT systems trainer. Why would they want me to bid for it? So they asked me to bid for enhancing digital capabilities, and I paired up with the Learning and Development Manager, and we put a bid in, and we didn't get anything the first year. Then they actually asked us to bid again the second year, and I was like, should we bother, really? But the thing is that we did, and we were given the go-ahead. All right, so we actually managed to get some funding. And what I've got here, and I'm going to hand this out, is it's an outline of a business case, okay, our business case. And so if I can just say, where are we now? All right, well, the thing is that we formed the group, the staff development group, and as I say, we all deliver skills, training and development. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on a project plan that will involve all of these people, that will help me to actually fulfill this business proposal. And so if I can just sort of like read this, 2 strands of this business case. We have strand 1, which is digital leadership. So it's to build skills for senior and middle management, enabling them and their teams to meet business objectives through a digital challenge. And strand 2, which is digital practice, and that's to promote the building of personal digital skills for professional service staff in year 1, academic staff in year 2, and research staff in year 3 through awards and competitions. And so that's the start. So even though you know, it didn't create many numbers or attendees, what it did do is give me the ability to actually look at some of the case studies that I've seen, some of the examples from other universities on how they've actually carried out digital capability projects, and adopt some of those. And there you go. So that's it, really. So any questions? Yeah.
Comment.
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I just say, what it struck me when you initialised this, I was going to say to myself, aren't they quite different? You know, Lorraine's was this kind of top-down engaged with the big SMT people who got money from you, and then Chris is kind of advocating this bottom up. And then I noticed that actually, no, you were both bottom up. You were both spontaneously doing something. And in Lorraine's case, you very quickly sort of found some solidarity. But it was, they were both bottom-up initiatives that you did. You didn't submit a project plan to, or you didn't make a proposal for funding straight away and go before the board and see whether it would work. And I just find that that's both inspiring and in a way slightly depressing, because I know that be careful with yourself in some institutions I know. Because if I say to you, what, I'd really like to do a webinar series on tech tips. If I wasn't careful, I said it to the wrong company, immediately someone would go, that's brilliant. Can you write a mini thing about that, and we'll see whether we can get some ad hoc funding, and it'll only take 18 months. So I'm not sure if I'm inspired or impressed. No, I'm inspired, but I think, to me, it's very noticeable that these were spontaneous stuff generated, by individuals going out and doing it themselves. And it going to take to the point that it comes afterwards. Yeah.
I think the reason why there was, I got support was because the principal who had left Imperial had come to St George's, and the digital cultures were totally different. I think it was going to help her with, the strategy that she's actually putting forth. So it was a case, well, a lot of people very negative, and so I suppose you see one person that's positive, and you're just sort of like, yeah, okay, let me help you. Let's try, try and change that culture that we have. Any more questions?
Both of you a bit, what next?
Well, for me, as I said, is to actually do this project plan and to actually put these awards in place and work with as many people as I can. It was very difficult for us to actually put this group together. Everybody's busy. Everybody had their own, thing that they were doing, and we were fortunate that we had this learning manager that was quite, calm and helped to bring us all together. And so really, it's to continue that group and to help all of them with the funding that we've got and change that digital culture that we have at the moment. That's for me.
So for me, really, it was a change of culture to say that you could deliver training to you online. So that worked. Then last year, the course was recorded up first, which ran at the same time as the class, and it was about how you could use Blackboard beyond being a repository. So, just information about how you can use the tools within that. So again, once all the day, 10 days, similar model. So it was broken from the Christmas period. And then obviously
Okay, so what we're looking at is actually replicating the student awards. So it's all to do with like motivation and, rather than giving out badges, it's actually giving out monetary rewards actually. Also, yeah, just small, small amounts. So that's why we're doing it, institute at a time. And we're just saying we're not going to give out any more than 20. And really what I would ideally like is for the staff development group to be some of the moderators, to say whether this person should get a gold, a silver, or, and also the HR person, the learning and development manager, he's looking after, say, like the PDRs and they want to make things a bit more compulsory, so that the managers are responsible for the PDRs, and because at the moment everybody just laughs at them really and thinks, oh, it's just something that you just do every year and it has no, you know, effect. But we're going to try and put some bones in there, and so yeah, so it's really just to replicate the student awards that are given out to the students. So.